Hi everyone, my name is Siddharth Ledi and I'll be presenting the logo of Expo 2000. Let's look into the background of the Expo of 2000. So it was a world expo where there were many different pavilions from different countries, which was held in Hannover, Germany. And it basically the name of the expo comes from its actual location, which was the Hannover Fairground. And this expo took place between the 1st of June to 31st of October in the year of 2000. Construction began in 1996, so it took about 4 years for them to finish the construction, which says a lot about the expo and how grand it was. And at the time, it was considered to be one of the biggest expo spaces in the world. This Expo of 2000 was supposed to be one of the biggest one, considering they were expecting millions of people to visit their expo, and unfortunately, it was seen as a flop because they weren't able to hit their expectation, and only half of their expected viewers came to visit the expo. Nonetheless, it was really a work of art and technology, which I'll be talking about in the theme. So the theme of the Expo of 2000 was humankind, nature, and technology, which basically comes from their thought of it being like a really sustainable architecture exhibition where from around the world, many different countries would showcase their futuristic architecture abilities. And this was an expo which was really immersed to generate ideas for the future, not like the other expos that were done in the past, which basically just focused on present science and technology, but this expanded to its futuristic ideas. That's what the Expo of 2000 was really known for, as it was considered ahead of its time. Moreover, the Expo of 2000 also focused on the blend of art and technology in its truest form by combining them into a design and construction methods for building architectural forms. The Expo of 2000 was heavily focused on architecture that was based on the principles of generative design. Generative design is basically a method where it is a code designed by a human and a computer, where the artist or we can say an engineer puts a certain set of code or parameters where it would generate outputs that would look very controlled in a manner by the set parameters. For example, on this slide, we can see the Japanese pavilion from the Expo 2000, which is basically created on the principles of generative design as seen by the structure, as it is a repeating pattern which could be set by the architecture in a closed parameters, and the code basically generates the output from the set parameters. Same with this one. This one is the Dutch pavilion from the Expo of 2000. To easily explain generative design, architectures and designers develop certain sets of assets and design elements where they could basically use to control or generate outputs based on set parameters ranging from color, space, or material through the means of generative art, which actually makes their work very automated instead of a manual thing. So the background and the theme and the architecture of the overall Expo 2000 was really important to understand for us to understand their visual language, as the same visual language of generative and algorithmic art has been carried over to the logo design. This is one of the earliest exploration into the realm of algorithmic art, as generative design has been around since 1970s for architecture, but this was one of the first examples where we have seen a logo made in a generative form. So it was definitely ahead of its time, taking into account that it was made in 1999. by a studio named QWER, which was led by Iris Utikal and Michael Kais. They are really specialized in typography and layout. So this logo is like a audio reactive code and art blended together. So it's like a 2D plus 4D design, as it's not a static logo, and there could be multiple variations of different color combination, which react according to the music. I preferably I think it was coded on JavaScript, as JavaScript came out in 1995, as so which makes this artwork one of the leading examples of early generative art. The artwork is basically interacting with the audio that is underlying the work, and the music title was done by Kraftwerk, which is a German band, very famous also in recent times. Just a small fun fact: they also have a concert in Los Angeles, I think on July 10th. If anyone is interested. Now we are going to look at the actual animation with the sound that was created by the designers and the band. The music by Kraftwerk for Expo 2000 was done in many different languages, ranging from German, English, French, Russian, and Spanish and Japanese. Expo 2000. Expo 2000. Expo Emilia. Expo 2010. Expo 2000. Expo 2000. Now, let me expand into how this logo is an example of generative art. So, this logo has set parameters that range between a pattern that consists of random rhythm, where the ellipse is basically changing based on the type of music that is being playing, where the data is being fed to the code, which generates an output based art, and it also has the movement of color and shape, just like I said, based on the audio. I'll give few example of parameters that are being used for this logo. One would be like a code that changes the background color, and there could be a code that changes the size and the color of the pattern, and then there's a code adding the data of the audio file used in the logo, which definitely defines the shape and the pattern of the ellipses. In my closing comments, I would like to say that the logo of Expo 2000 was really ahead of its time, as even in current times, in the 21st century, generative art and algorithmic art is still an unexplored territory. And thinking about the time in 2000, the artists were really looking into the future by making art that was based on algorithms, and which really defined what generative art should look like. I hope you guys enjoyed my presentation on the logo of Expo 2000 Hannover. Thank you.